Okay. Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will basically see what is fusion and how it works and what is new in this and all those things for today's session. And also we will see what are the new things in this and that is in the application. And we will see there are few changes compared to the other ERP platform. So we will see all those things and there are few automations in terms of data migration and the other aspects. So we'll see. Okay. So before starting this, so I'll introduce myself. So my name is Arun. So basically, I'm an Oracle Cloud finance consultant. So I have around 8 years of work experience. Okay. So basically, I involve into implementation where probably mostly Middle East and the Asian countries and mostly India. Okay. So this is about high level background about me. So basically I come from EBS and from EBS now I'm into cloud platform. Okay. So this is about me. You would like to give intro about yourself?
Yeah. My name is Vinutha.
Okay.
Right now, I'm working for a trust called as Sri Justice ND Krishna Rao Memorial Trust.
Okay.
From past 10 years, I'm working in accounts and as well as in office administration.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
have total experience of 10 to 12 years.
Okay.
So I know Tally,
Okay.
accounting software.
Okay.
So just I wanted to learn new and try job in MNCs and global companies to get better opportunities. So
Okay.
I wanted to decide to do this Oracle Fusion Finance.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. Yeah. Fine. Good. Okay, so we'll start our session. So probably I'll start with Fusion application. So what is Fusion and all those things? I'll start with basics. Okay, so before starting this, we need to understand what are the products that we have inside the Fusion application. So which means Oracle as a global company which delivers ERP products. So ERP in the sense even Tally we call ERP, but if you take Tally, basically you will call everything as a ledger. So if I wanted to say sales register or something, so we will say ledger. But whereas if you take Fusion or EBS, so basically this is entirely different. They call this as an what do you call the register. So
So
I'll just
ERP is different, EBS is different, you're saying.
no, it's not different. So even EBS is an ERP platform. So
Mm.
Fusion is an upgraded version of EBS.
Okay.
But whereas ERP, if you see, so ERP is nothing but, I mean, you know very well, it is an enterprise resource planning system
Mm.
where it will help user to record their financial data or the supply chain data,
Mm.
and they can manage it as a whole for an
Mm.
entire organization. So that is what we call as an ERP system. So the way we segregate between Tally and EBS is that if you take Tally, basically you cannot do much of an customization. So customization can be done to the level of your dashboard and the other things. So I actually worked with few Tally clients as well, where they wanted to migrate from Tally to EBS. So basically to have the customization migrated to the EBS environment, basically you will need to understand it. So that is why I'm just comparing with both. So to understand it, better customization will be privileged in EBS rather than Tally. So that is why people chose either SAP or EBS or Salesforce. So Salesforce is basically an CRM model. So we don't want to get into there. So let's compare EBS and SAP. So comparatively, so you can say EBS as an stronghold in finance, because if you see the customization and the approval mechanism that you have here in EBS, so that is strong enough than SAP. On the other side, if you see Tally, basically we don't have much approval workflow or the customizing the approval workflow in the Tally, but whereas the larger ERP products like SAP or EBS, you will have all those options. So Fusion is nothing but the upgraded version of EBS Financials. So they started with the EBS with the lower version of 11i. From 11i, they upgraded to 12, and now from 12 they have 12.2.5, something like that. And they wanted to stop this environment, and they wanted to move entirely to the cloud. So cloud is nothing but Fusion environment we call as in cloud.
Mm.
Because EBS, if you take it, so you can have it in your own office, that is client office. They will have a separate room for maintenance, and where they will maintain their servers and networking and all those things. So that we call as an on-premise. So we will see all those options maybe next slides. So for now, this is what is EBS. So EBS is one of the product which got meshed into Fusion application. So apart from this, we have taken or we have procured few other companies as well. That is JD Edward, PeopleSoft, and all those things. So each has one of its roles to play. So let's not discuss about HCM, CRM, and all those things, which is not. I mean, we don't need to basically understand HCM part and the other things, the usability, but we need to understand this thing called Hyperion. So what is Hyperion? So Hyperion is a product where it will give ease of financial reporting. So let's say I wanted to understand or I wanted to pull out the balance sheet or the profit and loss account. Even in EBS, if we take, so we have set of what do you call the technical resource who will develop it and who will customize the layouts and the other options. But whereas if you take Hyperion, we don't need a technical resource. Functional consultant who can handle the basic what do you call layout design and the other things, he will be able to create the financial reports as well. So that we call as an FRS, Financial Reporting Studio. Okay, so this is where Oracle uses financial report from the product called Hyperion. Okay, so next slides we will see what is S-based database and the other thing. So for now, this is the understanding that Oracle has procured, Oracle has clubbed two things in terms of financial modules or the offerings. So
Mm.
one is EBS and the other one is Hyperion. So EBS is basically used for the transaction and the data storage and the other part. And on the other side, Hyperion is used mostly for the reporting purpose. Okay. So we will also see what is FRS and how to create and how do we modify our layouts and how can we do the formatting and the other options. So for now, I'll just give the high level understanding. Probably in the coming classes, we will see how to configure and what are the steps involved in it. So all those things we will see. Okay. And as I said, so these are the multiple options that we have if we go for Oracle Cloud. So we have SaaS. SaaS is nothing but software as a service, and PaaS is platform as a service, and IaaS is infrastructure as a service. So how do we understand this basically, or how do we segregate each one of it? So here I have segregated with different colors where I have segregated with blue and red. So here red indicates that it is under the control of Oracle, and whatever I have marked as a blue, so this is under our control. So here I have taken four platforms. So we have SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, and apart from that, we have on-premises as well. So on-premise is nothing but we will handle it entirely. So you might have seen this Tally, so where they will have a separate system of the server, so they will maintain it within their office. Okay, maybe probably the corporate office or the head office, they will have the server and it will be connected. So this is how they will manage. So similarly, EBS also handle this way. So now we can have it in the hybrid way that we can have both the cloud and on-premise. Okay. So on-premise in the sense we can manage our application. So which means, let's say I have an business process that I have invoicing. So now if I wanted to customize this workflow, so I can do it very well because I have on-premise, which means everything is under my control. So I don't need to depend anything with Oracle. Okay. So this is basic understanding. And if we speak about SaaS, so in terms of SaaS, if you see, we will not basically have control over anything, including our application. So whatever Oracle is giving as a product, so we are going to implement it. Apart from the few integrations, like if we want to connect with the bank server and the other things, so that we can connect it. But apart from that, customizing the particular process or particular pages, so that is not allowed in the SaaS model. But whereas in the PaaS model, it is allowed. If I wanted to create a new platform by itself or the new application by itself, I can create using the PaaS. Okay. So what is the difference between PaaS and IaaS is that basically here, if you see, I have middleware product as well. So if I want, let's say I have 4 or 5 different systems that is communicating. Let's say this is an education industry. So I wanted to connect multiple system with my core system, that is financial product Fusion. So in this case, I will need my middleware product to connect all those things. Okay. So that is where we will use IaaS, infrastructure as a service. But whereas PaaS, so this is only as an application. So if at all we wanted to build any what do you call the custom application, so that is when we will opt for the PaaS model. And SaaS, we know very well, whatever Oracle is giving, we are just taking it, and here and there we can do simpler modifications, and we can use the SaaS as application. Okay, so this is the high level difference between each one of the platform. Any query in this? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, any query in this?
No, no.
Okay, so we'll move on.
Hmm.
Okay, so when we speak about database, so we know the traditional database that we have rows and columns. But here in Fusion application, we have two kind of databases. So one is Oracle DB. That is again the traditional way of handling the data, that is rows and columns. And the other database that we have is Essbase database. So this is nothing but multi-dimension cubes. So whatever data that we are pushing, so this will not be applicable for our transaction data. So transaction data will be stored within our Oracle database. So apart from that, whatever the accounting data that we are sharing to GL, so that will be stored in Essbase database as in cubes. So the reason why we have this Essbase cube is that, so when we wanted to take out or pull out the report from the FRS, so a few minutes back we were speaking about FRS, right? This Hyperion product. So if at all we wanted to take there, so we have multiple dimension and we have rows, column, and the other pivot options. Using that, basically we can build a complex report in a simpler way. So that is the reason we have Essbase database in Fusion application. Okay. So this space will be created when we create a new ledger, and whenever we are transferring this data, so basically it will be stored as a cube. Okay. So this is the understanding on the database that we have with Fusion application. And speaking about the enterprise structure, so enterprise structure is nothing but how do we fit in a company's structure. Let's say in this case I have just taken Honeywell as an example. But in an art case, we can take probably the Reliance or any other use case which will fit into this thing. So for our understanding, we will take Honeywell. So Honeywell, if you take, we have multiple business involved in it. But we don't want to take or do a deep dive, but we will take two line of business. So one is electronics and the other one is fire equipment. So under this fire equipment, we will do lot of transaction within it. So basically what they will do is that they will procure a raw material and they will fit in or they will manufacture the item and they will do package and all those things and keep it in the warehouse. And from warehouse, this executive will pick it and put it in the showroom. Or probably we will sell it to a third party or we will keep it in our own showroom. Okay.
Hmm.
So this showroom, we are calling this as a business unit. So what is business unit is that whatever unit or the branch office of Honeywell is generating either revenue or expense. This we are calling it as a business unit. Okay. And what is legal entity? So legal entity is nothing but our legal registration basically. So let's say we have, so this is basically based on the tax compliance. So if we take at India scenario, we will not have multiple legal entities involved in it, because under GST regime, basically we will have only one legal entity registered. And under this registration, we will operate under multiple places. But whereas if you take US or the Singapore cases, we will have multiple, because by each state, the taxation will differ. So that is why we have different legal entities for each states inside the US. Similarly, we have other countries as well. So for our understanding, I have taken this case US. Okay. So if I wanted to have business unit and the legal entity, I wanted to have the primary ledger. So what is primary ledger is that this is the source of any accounting transaction or any accounting data that I'm going to derive from the system. So I have different application. Let's say I have supplier payments and customer payments. So now I speak about customer, sorry, supplier payments. So I will have a set of payables as the liability against this particular supply. So where I will have all those information is that under accounts payable module or the offering. Okay.
Mm.
So this subledger, so this we call as an subledger transactions. Whatever we are making as an invoice or the payment, we are calling this as an subledger transaction. But whereas when we speak about the primary ledger, whatever transaction that I'm creating in the accounts receivable module and the account payable module, this will be aggregated into one specific place called primary ledger. So that is why when I speak about the accounting data, so this is the source for me in order to get the any data, primary ledger. Okay.
Mm.
So as an hierarchical structure, basically I'll have the enterprise. So enterprise is always one. So
Mm.
under this, I can have multiple divisions. So under multiple divisions, if I have different countries operations, so probably I'll again split it out into multiple parts here under the legal entities. So I have something in US and Singapore. And on the other side, if you see, I have another line of business called fire equipment. So here I have business in US and UK. So it differs. So based on the business I'm running inside a specific country. Okay. So business unit, we understood that we have multiple business units. So under US, we might have probably 50 or 100 also. So for our understanding, I have kept this as an two. So the reason I kept here one is that we can have one or two plus. So that is the reason I have differentiated this way. And we have distribution center. So this is not specific to finance. So this is more of a supply chain concept basically. So distribution center is from where actually the items are getting dispatched. So that is what we are calling as distribution center. So this is just for reporting purpose, and inventory arc is the place where basically we will store the items. Yeah, and master arc is nothing but it will come under what do you call, the inventory arcs will be grouped and it will be saved under one particular virtual office called item master. So this from the distribution center, these are all what do you call, the supply chain components. So what we need to understand is that from enterprise till business unit. Okay, so this will be our enterprise structure. Any doubt in this? Hello.
No doubt, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I'll speak about roles and users and this thing for a minute. So basically, if we take any other ERP product, so we don't have something called an implementation user and differentiating with the employee user. So we don't have any such segregation basically. And in terms of security, if we speak, again, here we have more control security in terms of segregating based on individual roles and duties, basically. So I'll start from the user. So to anyone, even the consultant who is going to implement this product for any given client. So he needs to have access to setups. So without having access to setup, he will not be able to do anything. And other part is that we have administration roles. So what is administration roles? So administration role is nothing but maintaining the users and roles and the other things. So let's say I have a company with a count of 100 employees. So here, if I want, it is not that always I will have only this 100 employees. Maybe some might retire and some might come in and we might have walk-ins. So these are like sort of a changing environment. So what we will do is that we will basically delete or deactivate certain employees and we will get in few employees based on the strength that we wanted to maintain. Okay. So how we are going to define this set of process? So we have two kind of users. So one is implementation user and the other one is employee user. So how do we define it? So implementation user is the one actually is going to do the setup or the implement this Fusion application. Okay. And the employee user is the one who is actually going to do transaction in real time. So let's say we have accounts payable module. So this module can be configured by implementation user, but he cannot do any sort of transaction like creating invoice or making the payment or accounting this invoice. So that can be done only by the employee user. So this is the segregation that we have. So this user called the employee user A, so he will have a certain user login and the other things. Okay. So after having created all those things, so basically what we will have is that we will have access to employee access kind of an invoice creation and payments and accounting and the other options. So how do we define this inside Fusion application is that based on the roles that is attached to it. So let's say I attach a role called accounts payable supervisor, invoice supervisor, which means this particular user or the employee user, he will be able to access only the invoice. He will not be able to access the payment. And again, if I wanted to customize this to the level of inquiry, let's say I don't want to give access to this particular user where he will access anything or he will create anything. I will not give those access. I will customize the role which is seeded by Oracle. I'll customize this and I'll say this particular user will have access to only inquiry. He'll not be able to do any transaction in the system. He'll be kind of a manager. So he will see what is happening in the system with reports and the transaction that he want to refer. So that he can do. So this is entirely based on the roles that we are assigning. So what are the different types of roles that we have in this system? So we have a job role, we have duty role, we have data role, and we have abstract role. So how do we define each one of it? So job role is nothing but our invoice, payment, accounting, and running the report and creating the FSG, what do you call the FRS reports. All those things is part of daily activities. So this collection of all those activities we call as a job role. Now, what is duty role? So duty role is nothing but certain functions. In this case, let's take invoice entry. So this user will be allowed only to enter an invoice, but he will not be able to make the payment or account this invoice or probably even viewing this invoice. He can only create the invoice. So this we call as a duty role. So here in this case, so can I attach duty role to one employee? So that we cannot do it. Why? Because we wanted to have set of roles that he will be performing in a given day. But we cannot just take one particular action and we can attach it there. So we should aggregate all those duty roles, and we should get these duty roles under job role, and this job role will be attached to the employee user. Okay, so this is how basically Fusion works. And apart from that, we have two other roles as well. So this is specific to assignment. Assignment in the sense, if I wanted to give access to any particular business unit or any particular ledger, that I can give it here. So this we call as an data role. And let's say to the another level, I wanted to restrict to a particular employee. So that also I can do it using abstract role. So I'll create abstract role and I'll say that only Mr. A will be accessing this particular what do you call the invoice creation or any other functions. Okay, so these are the different roles that we have and all those options, and so the accessibility and everything is depending upon our roles and these things. Okay, and now here I have given two roles to this implementation user. So one is application implementation consultant and another one is IT security manager. So how do I understand what are the roles given to a particular user, or how do we determine that if I want to give access to accounts payable module, so how do I understand that these are the roles that I wanted to give? So we can understand this from the Fusion repository. So this is an open source recall the repository, which is given by Oracle by themselves. So we can access it just by typing Fusion repository in Google. So we will get all those information, relevant information, the roles and the other things. Okay. So from there we will get it, including their meaning and the abbreviation and all those components. So here to understand application implementation consultant, so this role will allow me to basically configure any module. If I want to add new offering or feature, so that I can add using this role called application implementation consultant. Okay. So now what is security manager? So security manager will give me access to the security console. So what is security console is that basically it will give an understanding to the administrator that these are the roles that is available, which is given by Oracle, the seeded roles. So here in security console, we will have basically two options. So one is to create the user and other one is to customize the roles or just check or compare the roles, whatever is available there. So mostly it is used for customizing the roles because the standard roles given by Oracle, if you see, so you will have access to everything. But whereas in real time, we don't want to give all those access to the general user, whoever is using this, but we wanted to restrict it. So basically we will do the customization of roles. So this is high level on roles and users that is being used or how it works in Fusion application. Okay. Any doubt in this?
Basically, implementation user is like a technical person, technician.
Yeah, we cannot say he's a technician. Basically, he's an functional consultant. Because here, if you see, when we say technical guy as the technician, so he's the one who writes the code. But
Okay.
this functional consultant, he will not write code. So whatever they have written, I mean, Oracle has written already set up codes. So whatever there in the functional front end, he will access and he will kind of an configuration controls and the other aspects, so that he can do as an implementation user. But when we speak about the technician or the technical person, so basically he will have access to the backend. Backend
Mm.
in the sense the reporting and if you see connecting with the different application, those things will be handled by the technician. But
Mm.
this implementation user is a functional consultant.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Employee user is like basically accounts persons
Yes,
who
correct.
will do their roles
Yes,
as per their.
yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'll move on.
Mm.
Yeah, so we will get into application. So I'll share my screen. Okay, so you're seeing the screen, right? Application. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take a minute to explain this landing page. So
Hmm.
basically, if you see here, so we have a few options. So since I have given access to this particular user to do the configuration, that is application implementation consultant role, I'll be
Hmm.
able to see this option, setup and maintenance. So this is where
Okay.
basically I'll do all sort of configuration. But
Hmm.
if I remove this particular role, I'll not see this option called setup and maintenance. Okay.
Okay.
So this is basic information. And apart from that, the preferences, diagnostics, all those things we can see. And
Hmm.
let's say I want to check this application version, like on what am I working. So I can click about this application, and here we can see this is 20D.
Hmm.
So 21B is the latest version. So before
21D.
21B, so before 21B, we have 21A, and before that we have 20D. Okay.
Hmm.
So this we call as an release 11. Sorry, release 13. So release 13 is nothing but this versions that Oracle is maintaining. Okay.
Hmm.
So here Oracle will give update. So update is nothing but 20D or 21A or 21B. So this is how basically people will use as a term and the terminology. So this is
There
how
won't be much difference in
no
20D, 21A.
difference will be there. Difference will be there because if you see, there will be certain bugs or any issues or enhancements that we will be expecting from Oracle. So this will be given in the latest or the upcoming versions. Like if
Hmm.
you wanted to do a certification with Oracle, basically it will be valid only for I believe it is 2 years. So more than 2 years, you cannot have that certification. I mean, it will not be valid basically. The reason for that is that Oracle will be updating their application now and then. So this 20D was there before 6 months, but
Hmm.
now this 20D is out of date. So we have 21B. So similarly, Oracle will come with new updates. So for example, I will have a certain requirement that I wanted to use this account segment based on another segment. So this is not possible in 20C. So that has been released in 20D. Similarly, we have new features that came in with 21A. So similarly, we have something in 21B. So Oracle is keep on enhancing their application. Okay. So that is the reason we will have 20D, 21, the latest updates basically. But the release, if you see, release is always 13. On release 13, we have few updates. Here and there, we will have the updates. So that is the difference between this.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And then we have this thing called notification. So this is an implementation user, and this notification has been cleared already. So we don't have any notification with us. But usually, let's say this is an employee user, so who will have approval mechanism to approve the invoices. I mean the supplier invoices. So in this case, he will have notification coming in. So which will say user A has asked for approval for so and so amount. Let's say 10,000. So based on the hierarchy, it has come to Mr. A. So he will see it here. So what he can do is that he can just click approve, and this will be approved. So this is kind of an ease of doing actions. So we will have a shortcut to approve our this thing approvals.
So it's
And
like a mail things we can do in this app only.
yeah, yes, we can do.
Mm.
Yes.
Like transaction will happen or how it is?
No, it's not transaction. So after creating the invoice, that is the original transaction.
Mm.
So we will have set of approval mechanisms. So
Okay.
approval mechanisms in the sense, let's take an organization that has till CFO. So under CFO we have DGM. So under DGM we have a senior executive and we have executive. So what this executive will do is that, so if at all the bill is 10,000, he will send to the senior executive. Or let's say this is 1 lakh, he will send to DGM. And let's say this is something like a 1 crore or something big procurement, he will send to CFO approval. So the purpose of having this approval is that to have a tight control in our financial or releasing the payments. Okay. So after creating this invoice, after he clicks approve, request for approve, so that is when this particular user called manager, he will get notification that so and so resources has requested for certain amounts to be released for vendor A. Okay, so that he can see it here and he can approve. So he don't want to get into this one, the list, and then he will get all those information, and from
Mm.
there he will approve. So that is not necessary. But instead he can just click approve here itself.
Mm.
Okay.
Like then while working in Oracle, internet connection should be there.
Yes, correct. We without internet we cannot work. So that is the challenge that we have.
But in Tally, it's not like that. That's what I.
Yeah, because Tally, if you see, that is on-premise. So in on-premise, you can manage it. So let's see, look at this way. So Tally, let's say Tally is used by an MNC who operates in Singapore, India, and China. So in this case, so Tally's main server is located in Chennai.
Mm.
So if I want to access this with my Singapore office, so I'll not be able to do. I'll need the internet access.
Mm.
So similarly, if I wanted to use it in China, I will need it. But if I'm using it in Chennai, I don't need it because
Mm.
my server is located here.
Mm.
Similarly, here if you see this server, we to maintain the server again we will need certain cost, because to
Mm.
procure the server, RAM, and the other things, it involves some lakhs of rupees. But
Mm.
whereas if you procure from Oracle, so this cost can be cut down, and we can
Mm.
cut down this cost, and probably we can save something. But only challenge is that we will need this internet connection.
Mm.
But another advantage is that if you use this Tally, so you will have to be in the office. But if we are using it in let's say in home, like in this scenario work from home, so you will need your internet connection. But whereas in Fusion application, if you look at it, so with internet connection anywhere you can use it. Like if I wanted to open this URL in my mobile, I can open and I can do the transactions. So I don't even need to log in into application, or I don't even need a laptop to do all those things. So simply I can work there. So that is the advantage that we have. So that's what I'm trying to say. We have both advantage and disadvantage.
Mm.
So it's business decision whether we wanted to use or even here we have this hybrid model, that
Mm.
if I wanted to manage only my what do you call the applications with Oracle Cloud,
Mm.
but still I wanted to maintain my database inside my office, that is on premise. So that is also possible. That we call as a hybrid solution. So based on the requirement, we have options whether to have it in the on-premise or we can have it in the cloud. But if at all we are having it in the cloud, definitely we need internet connection. So that is what.
Okay, it's not that that the app is in one system. I have to use that only. I can log in anywhere and I can work.
Yes, yes. You can log in anywhere. You can use any device to connect it,
Mm. Okay.
provided we have this URL. So that's it. With this URL, probably we can connect anywhere and we can work.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So next option that we have is to mark the favorites or anything. So let's say I have probably 10 or 15 functions, but I will not use all those 15 options regularly. I will use only the create invoice, create payments, and account. So I can mark this as in favorites. So I'll just here I don't have these options because I didn't add anything under favorites. So if at all I have added something, so I can just access from here. So I'll click it. So I don't need to go from here, search all those tabs where it is. So I don't need to go here and there. Simply I'll just click here, and from here it will take me to this certain page, creation of invoice, for example. So this option we have to mark it as favorite or anything. This is just like our mobile thing where we can
Hmm.
mark some person as a favorite. So that is simple as that. Okay. And this is like home. So home, we know that when we are into the transaction, probably if we wanted to come to home, we can just click this option. So it will take us to the home page. Okay.
Okay.
And these are the options or the module that has been assigned to me. So we are seeing multiple options because this is super user. So he will have access to two plus modules. So if you see here, he has access to general ledger, and he also has access to budget and the other options. But in real times, we will not have this kind of options. So if this is an user who will do what do you call the creation of customer payments, so he will have access to only receivable. He will not have access to general ledger. So this will be handled by another accounts department. Account guy will be handling this. So basically, based on the roles that we have given, we are seeing all these options. Okay. And if we come down, so basically we will have our analytics. So let's say I have created 10 invoice in a given day. So I'll have all those informations here. Okay. So that's it about the high level information on the landing page. So apart from this, basically we have this thing as well. So tools. So under tools, we have multiple options. So this is what I was speaking about. That is security console.
Hmm.
So what we will have under security console is that this is purely an administration work items. So if you see here, so this will have basically the users and the roles. So the other things are like additional information like single sign-on and API authentication. Others are like we don't need it. So what we want to understand is that users and roles. So user is nothing but we are creating an login for this particular user. So this is not an actual employee record. So actual employee record will be there inside our configurations. So this is just we are creating an access to the particular person. So how do we define whether this is an what do you call invoice user or the payment user? How we will define? So based on the roles that we are attaching. So I'll just create one user. So here I can give this as well.
This user that the financial consultant has to create, or accounts person can create. And
No, account person cannot create. Basically, we will have a person called administrator.
mm,
So this administrator, what he will do is that he will manage security of the system, and he will manage the what do you call the new employee coming in. He will create the logins and the other things, and he will make sure that he is not getting additional roles that he don't need, or he will also make sure that is not left out without any roles that is mandatory for his daily work.
mm,
So that will be handled by a person called administrator. So he will manage all those things. But accounts team, they will not involve into user creation and roles customization, all those activities.
Mm.
So they will be basically concentrating on the transaction, passing the JV, or probably running the trial balance and checking the profit and loss balance sheet. Those things will be handled by them. They will not handle this activity.
Okay.
Okay. So the purpose of giving this one, what we call the email, is that if I want to reset this password, so I don't want to go to the administrator everything. So instead, what I can do is that I can click forget password. So this will send a link to this particular email ID called support@trainty.com. So when I log in into this particular email ID, I will have a link to reset it. It is just like my Gmail account. So I can just reset it in a simpler way. Okay. So I'll just give the configuration of this thing role. And also I'll give the IT security manager. Yeah. So these are the two roles that we need in order to do any configuration or add new user and the other things. So what we will do is that we will save this and we will log in using this particular username called Arun23. Okay, so I'll log out from here. Okay, so this is our login. So if you see here, so we will not have access to the general ledger or the receivables. The reason being is that we have given access to only two things. So one is setup and the other is security console. So if you see here, so under tools, basically we will have the security console. And if we want to check the setups and the configuration, we have this option called setup and maintenance. Okay. So now I will take one role and I'll show you that how basically a role is being customized. So to customize role, we have two options to customize it. So one is that we can just click copy role here and we can just remove whatever the sub functions that we wanted to remove, that we can remove it from here. Or probably if we know the inherited role, we can just say create role and we can create our own roles. So in this option, I'll say copy role and we will not be able to edit role because this edit role is nothing but it is just to see the information what is there inside. So I'll just click copy role. So we have two options. So one is copy top row or we wanted to inherit the roles. So the difference is that top role is nothing but the direct roles. So let's say I'm taking accounts payable invoice super user. So under this I have create and inquiry. So whether I wanted to have only these two options or I wanted to have the reports and the other sub functions as well. So in this case, I'm taking copy inherited roles as well. Okay. So this is what the high level information. So now if I wanted to edit this role, so probably I'll say I'll just add AR. Okay. And here you can see that this is a job role because I cannot attach the duty role. When we are seeing this presentation, I was saying that we should attach the job role. So basically duty role will be clubbed into job role and it will be attached to a particular user. Okay. So next step is that to give the list of functions or the security policies. So here, if you see, we have list of privileges, and apart from that, we have inherited policies as well. So inherited policies is nothing but the privileges that comes along with this particular role. So if you see here, so we have import options and we have supply creation, and then we have option to view payment. We have option to what we call view purchase order, supply. So there are a lot of options basically. So if I want to create what do you call the option of create role. So what I will do is that I'll copy down this option called inherited role. So I have something called payable invoice processing. So what I will do is that I'll just copy down this, and from here what I will do is that I'll just place it there in the create role. This way I will restrict what do you call the creation of these things. But apart from that, let's say I wanted to delete any certain functions, so that I can do, provided it is in direct roles. It is not an inherited role. So here, if you see, so this is a direct role. This is not inherited role. So what I can do is that I can just click this and I can do delete. So this will be gone out of this role. So this I can do. But whereas if you see here, I will not have even the option to delete it. If you see here, it is disabled. So the reason why it is disabled is that this is an inherited role. Inherited role is nothing but our indirect role that is being copied from the original role. So those kind of roles we cannot remove out of the box. So if at all I have a requirement that I don't want a user to see all these options, so for these cases, what we will do, we will create a new role and we will take this inherited role and we will just apply it there. Okay. So that is about this thing. And yeah, so we have resource. So resource is nothing but our technical component, the web services and the other things. Okay. And the next option that we have is that data policy. So data policy is nothing but whether we wanted to restrict this access to any specific what do you call the business unit or the ledger. So that we can define it here. So if you see here, so we have option to remove this particular security. So let's say, for example, I by mistake I have given access to 10 business units, but whereas this user called Mr. A, he shouldn't have access to 10 business units. He should have access to only 5 business units. So in this case, what I can do is that either I can remove the entire data security, or I can say edit data security, and I can edit it wherever it is required. Okay, so here I can just give the name of the policy and I can give the description, and here from here I can select the list of values uh, on top of what I wanted to control, so that I can say. So in this case, if you see, it is based on supply, but if I want to use based on business unit, I can use it. So from the list of value I can pick it up. So if I type just business unit, I'll have this option. So based on this I can do it. Okay, so these are like a set of conditions and the actions. Based on the actions, I can do whatever I wanted to do. So if I don't want user to delete or update it, I can disable this. Okay, so this is the data security policy that we have. Okay, and then what we have is that whatever the roles that we have added, the inherited roles, so that will be displayed here. So this is kind of an summary basically. Okay. And another case, what we were saying is that let's say we have a case where we wanted to basically give this role only to a specific user. So that we can do it here. So we have two options. So either we can create this role and attach it to the user manually, or if you want to give this access to only this particular user, so we can just say add user. So this will be assigned automatically. We don't need to go to the user page and assign it again. Okay. So this will show the high level information if at all we have made any changes. So that will say. So if you see here, we removed one security policy. So that is why it's saying removed one. So the rest of the things we didn't make any changes to it. So that's why it's saying as it is. Okay. So now this custom role is created. So we can just take out this. Just we can copy the role and we can attach to the user. Okay. So this is what all about the custom roles. Any doubt on this?
No, no doubt.
Okay. And this one user, this is simple. So we'll just create the user and attach the roles. So this is also fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so these are the primary things that is being done by an administrator. So administrator stated role will be more of an article, the data entry person role. So we'll be just keep on updating, deleting, and adding the new roles and attaching it to the user. So this is what is daily activities all about. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll start with the configurations. So to
Am I going to get study materials for this or how?
if you want, I can get and I can share you, not an issue.
Hmm.
Actually, we don't have it. I have my personal reference documents, so probably
Okay.
I'll share it with you. I'll share it in the this thing. I'll share it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the page. Basically, if we want to do any sort of configurations after the project is being assigned to me or any particular resource. So before starting about this, so we have few options to
So
achieve.
when user open this app, he can see like this page.
No, when an user opens it, user in the sense you are saying about the employee user.
Ah.
No, employee user will not see this option because if you see this, we have navigated through this option called setup and maintenance.
Ah.
Whereas setup and maintenance will be used for the configuration. So who will configure is that implementation consultant.
Okay.
So only he will be able to see all these options. So for
Hmm.
the regular employees, they will see something like this. So usually we will not have workforce and the other information. So he will see about my team and the other stuff, and he will, let's say this is a GL user who creates the journal entry. So he will see general ledger and he will see relevant options there. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is how it will be for the employee user.
Hmm.
But whereas for the implementation user, we will have this option called setup and maintenance.
Okay.
Okay. So before starting our configuration, so we have certain things here. So that is to import or export our setup. So the reason why we need this particular option is that, uh, let's say in real-time implementation scenario, it is not that we will have only one environment, that is production, because we have test environment or the demo environment to test the functionalities that is raised by the customer, and we will have the SIT environment. If at all we have multiple systems to check those functionalities, we will have SIT, and then we will have the UAT. So UAT is nothing but our what do you call the system that we will be giving to the end user to check the functionalities. And then we have pre-prod. So pre-prod is where we actually debug all the issues that is being reported by the user. And we have the production environment. So here we have multiple phases in the implementation cycle. So let's say I have completed my configurations. So what I will do is that I will export my configurations. So how do I export my configuration is that first I'll select my offering, that is financials. And here I have an option to export. So I'll say create new export. So this will take a bit time. So I'm not going into it. I'm just explaining it. Okay. So this is the option that we can take backup of this configuration. So once this backup is done and I have the next level of environment, that is UAT, what I will do is that I'll just simply say create new under import and I will import those configurations. So I will avoid certain time there in terms of configuring again in the second environment. So that will be used with this option called import and export. So basically we can take a backup of our configurations or any data that we have that we can take backup. Okay. And then we have the actual offering. So offering is nothing but the financials that we are saying as an offerings. And features we call it as an individual features like customer payments and the other options. Okay. So here, if I want to select any particular task, so I have two options. So I can search directly here, or if I want to search probably in the entire instance, I can say search. And let's say I wanted to search manage user. So this will give me a set of what do you call these suggestions. Because when I say manage user, I have manage user, I have manage user defined formulas, I have manage user rule. So there are multiple options. So system will ask us whether we wanted to go for any of this option. So I'll just say manage user. So this will take, so basically this will take me to the certain page where I wanted to navigate from that page. Okay. So this is kind of a shortcut for us. So before coming to this page, so I'll just explain what is implementation. So the navigation is manage implementation projects. Okay. So since this is an practice environment, so we have different projects that is being created. But in real time, we will not have this much of projects created. It is always one. So I'll just say add. Uh, so let me say Fusion implementation. Okay. So here we can see it's not started because we are just creating the implementation project. And you can see that this is assigned to Arun 123. This is the user that we have logged in. And we can set up the from date and to date. Let's say this project has started from 1st of January and we wanted to close this project by December. Okay. So this we can do. Now we have created a project and now we wanted to give certain functions to configure and allow user to enter the transaction. So in order to do that, basically we need what do you call the access to create the configuration. So how do we do it? We have two options. So one is to directly say save and open project and add the offering there, or we can say next and we can select each options and the features there. So for now I will say save and open the project, and from the landing page I will just pick up. So we can see here that we don't have any task that is being assigned to this project called Fusion implementation. So now what I will do is that I'll just click add, and from here if you see we have offerings, We have task list and we have tasks. So this is like breakup of each one of it. So I'll just say offering, and I will add the financial offering. So I'll just say apply. Okay. So now we can see that financials have been added. So I'll just click done. So if I want to add probably inventory, so I can add it from here. So for now, I wanted to have only financials. So I have added it. So now here we have a few what do you call options. So I can say edit status. So this is not started. So now I have started implementation. Okay. So I can just say in progress and I can save and close. So we can notice that this will be changed basically. So we have this in progress. Okay. So now inside this financials, we have multiple options or the modules to be configured. For example, let's take payables and receivables and asset module. So it is not that one resource is going to configure all these modules. We will take one person to configure payables, one person to receivables. Similarly, for fixed asset, another person. So how do we assign this basically? So let's say I want to assign this object, the general ledger configuration. That is common application configuration for financials. So I'll click this and I'll say assign task. So here I can add the users. I'll say Arun Putri. So this is my user. So this I can refer using my email ID. Okay. Yeah. So now this is assigned. So let's extend this page. So we will know it is assigned to a particular user called Arun. Okay. So this way we can track this basically. Okay. And here if you see, so if at all I wanted to add or assign any specific task, so these are kind of an shortcuts that I'll have. Or if I want to remove quickly or add quickly, I can use these options to have it. So now we have created this offerings, features, and the implementation project. So now if I want to track this project, the very purpose of creating this implementation project is that manager will have better control over tracking the projects. So how do I track this project? So to track that, I'll just say done here and I'll click overview. So I'll click my implementation project and I'll say overview. Okay. So here I can understand that this particular project is in not started or nothing is done. So whichever phase it is, I can understand from here. And maybe I wanted to check based on the resource or the assignment. So that also I can check it. So here I have different options with the graphical representation, with the different configurations, who has done what, all those options. And probably if I want to check by resource, I can check. Since I assigned only to Arun 23, I'll be able to see only Arun 23. So maybe if I assign 2 or 5 resource, I'll be able to track it. So basically, this is how we will track our implementation project. Okay. Any doubt till now?
Till now, whatever is explained is administrator's work, right?
No. Administrator role is only this one, user management and the roles creation.
Hmm.
So these things will be configured by the functional consultant.
Okay.
The implementation and assigning these roles, tracking project, all those things.
Hmm.
Any doubt or we'll move on?
So when you share this study material, I will go through once. If I have any doubt, I will ask.
Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah. So we'll start with our basic configurations. To start with, basically we will have to configure our value set. So before starting this, but basically this is the navigation. So under our common configurations, so we will have enterprise structure for financials. So under this, I have defined financial reporting structure. So here I have chart of accounts. So this is where I have value set. So I'll explain before that what is value set.
Hmm.
So value set is nothing but a set of security that is being provided by Oracle. So what kind of security will we get here? So let's say I have a field called account. So here in this particular field, if I want to enter 1, 2, 3 today and 3, 4, 5 tomorrow, I can enter it if it is a free field like this. So here if you see, I can enter anything. System is not going to restrict me. But whereas in the real-time scenario, especially in handling the financial data, so user will not have in this way. They will have more controlled way like this. If you see, I'll be able to select only from the list of values here. I'll not be able to write something called RTH. Okay. So here, this validation or this security is provided under this value set. So value set is nothing but set of validation and the security that is being provided to the system through which we will control or we will validate that these are the values that can be entered by user. Any kind of user will be able to enter only this kind of values or this set of values. Okay. So that is what we are defining it here. So let's say company. So now we have something called chart of accounts. So what is chart of accounts? So chart of accounts is nothing but a set of combinations that basically we will have where we will say that this segment called company, it will have certain values and accounts. So this will have certain values. Okay. So based on this, I will derive my accounting, sorry, not accounting. It is basically the reporting requirement. So let's say I have created four value sets and four segments. So segments we will see it at later point. So for now, for understanding, I'm just saying this. So we have company, we have accounts, we have department, and we have project. Now, if I want to understand this particular financial report, whether this is an profitable for a particular unit or particular department, so how do I understand? So in the normal report, I'll not be able to understand. But whereas if I give this under segment as the value set, I'll be able to understand. How I will be able to understand is that this is the combination that I'm going to create when I'm creating the transaction. For example, invoice. So when I create an invoice, I will say this is under company one that I'm creating this transaction, and I will have certain accounts, and I will say this is under finance department, whether this is an what do you call the revenue or expense. whatever it is. And I will say this is under project 2. So when I try to take my report based on my project and the department, so I'll be able to give this two combination called project 2 and finance department. And based on this, I can build down my report and I can say that this is the profitability that is made out in a particular, probably the month or the year, I can say. So this can be achieved through our value set and the segments. Okay. So combination of value set or a specific value set, we will say this is attached to a segment. So now what is segment? So basically segment will define what kind of actions or how system should behave in terms of taking in the data. So we will see when we are doing the transaction. So first I'll complete the value set and probably after this, we will see how to configure our segments and the other options. Okay. So I'm saying FI, COMP, that is company, Fusion implementation, company. So here I need to select the module. So the module is general ledger. Why? Because we are configuring the chart of accounts, and this chart of account is under our this thing, what do you call general ledger module. So now we have certain validations here. So we have dependent, we have independent, we have table and the other option. So dependent is nothing but based on the one value, we will derive the second value. So let's say I have an example that I wanted to derive the vendor name based on the vendor code, because vendor name can be duplicated. I can say SSP Infotech. I can also say that SSP Infotech for the another vendor also. Probably he might have another site or the branch office. But whereas the vendor code is unique for each vendor. So with this, I wanted to derive. So what I will do is that I will say dependent. So for what I will say dependent is that vendor name. So vendor name will be depending upon the vendor code. Okay. So this way, based on the business requirement, we can achieve each one of it. So in this case, I will say independent. Okay. And the other options that we have is table and the view objects. So if we want to handle it technically, the list of values, the values, whatever we are seeing it here. So if we want to handle it technically, we can leave it with tables or the view objects that we can create it. But apart from that, let's say I wanted to give the simple validation that is independent, whatever value I'm entering it here in the application. So that should be visible to the user to enter the transaction. So that I can give it using independent and character. So I'll just say text and probably I'll say sets. Okay. Okay. So now this is our what I call the value sets, and now we have created it for company. So similarly, let's create another one for our this thing, what do you call accounts, because here it's mandatory to have at least for two segments. So without this, we'll not be able to complete our chart of accounts configurations. So I'll just give the regular values. I'll say character and text. Okay. So now we have created the value set. So the next setup is to create our chart of account structure. So just below the value set, we have a chart of account structure. So now what I will do is that I'll just click manage structure. So here we have two things. So one is to have a structure and the another one is at instance. So the difference between structure and instance is that, let's say I have 10 different segments, and here Where I will use instance is that, let's say I wanted to split this 10 segments into multiple pieces. So this is where I will use the instance. So I can create one segment, one chart of account instance with 5 segments, and another instance with another 5 segments. So this is possible with this particular combination. Okay. And then I have something called deploy FlexFill. So deploy is nothing but system will basically validate whether we have any issues or any exceptions that we have in terms of configurations. So this deploy flex field is not applicable only for this particular chart of account. So let's say I have created 10 different chart of accounts. So system is going to check all these 10 chart of accounts. It's not only one that we have created. Okay. Okay. So I'll start with structure. So I'll just say add, and I'll say chart of account. Okay. Now we have here something called delimiter. So delimiter is nothing but the segregator where it will define between each segments. So now we will see what is segment and the other things. So after understanding this, so this is to be understand that this will split each segments basically. So I'll say add. Okay. So I'm just giving the same name. So I'm just giving the sequence name as 1, and display width probably I would say 6. And we have the column name. So column name is nothing but values where we want to store. So for this company segment, we will have multiple values like the company 1, company 2. So that where do we want to save it? Under this particular column called segment 1. Okay. And now I want to give the value set that I created there. So in the previous setup, we created this called FI COMP. So I'm just attaching it here. So now coming to the labels. So this is where exactly it defines how this particular segment will work. So segment is nothing but a set of data that can be used at the transaction. So how system will understand that how this should behave. So it is based on the labels that we are giving it here. So if you see here, we have multiple labels. We have cost center, we have intercompany, we have natural account, we have primary balancing segment. So when we say company, we will say primary balancing segment. So why do we say this is a primary balancing segment? Because when I say this is an balancing, which means my debit and credit will be always equal or it will nullify. So those segments we will call as an balancing segment or the company segment mostly will say. It is not mandatory that we wanted to assign only to the company. We can assign even to the projects. So that is based on the company requirement. Okay. So I have assigned it. So I'll just say save. So I'm just giving this. Okay. So now the label name that we wanted to select is that national account. The reason being is that so this will validate this particular segment that whether this should be a asset account or this should be revenue account or expense account. So basically it should be either the balance sheet account or the profit and loss account. So that will be determined based on this label. So that is why I'm giving national account segment to this one because we have defined FI accounts. Okay. So now we have created two segments. Now, if I see here, the delimiter I have given is dot. So what will happen is that, let's say the value for my company I have given is 100 and account code that I have given is 2476. So since I have given dot as a delimiter, what will happen is that 100.2472 is my account code combination. So this is how basically system will work. So when I'm creating any transaction, let's say this is my rent account 2476. So when I say 100.2476, which means this rent is being paid from company 100. So that is our understanding. So when we pull out our trial balance or any financial report, so this will give us high level understanding what is happening or what has happened in the system. Okay. So that is the main purpose of having segments, chart of accounts, and all those things. So this is our mandatory configurations to start with. So basically, after we configure this, then we will create the ledger. So this is with the chart of account configuration. So we are done with configuration for chart of account. So the next setup is to configure instance. Before that, any doubt or query?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay, so I'll create one instance here. So I'll just say FI COE INST. So always we will attach this instance to the ledger. We will not attach our chart of account structure directly because there, if you see, it will have a big list of segments, but whereas we will be using only five. So that is the reason we'll be using it here. So I'm just attaching FI COE. Okay, so this has pulled in automatically. So what I will do is that I'll just say it is required and I'll save this, which means this will be applicable to be entered when I'm making the transaction. Okay, so I'm just saving this. So now we can see that deployment status is grayed on. It's because we have made few changes or we have created something, but we haven't validated or checked for any exceptions. So what we will do is that we will say deploy FlexField. So if at all there is any exception or warning, so we can check it here. So if we extend this page, here we don't have any exceptions. So this is 0. So if at all there is any such, so we can check it out here. Okay. Yeah. So this is done. So this is kind of a log. If you extend this page called FlexField deployment details, so it will tell us each stage what has happened. Okay, so here now we can see that status is in green, which means it is being deployed without any exception. Okay, so we are done with our chart of account creation. So the next step is to create the calendar. Um, It is almost 9:15. We'll connect it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll ping you tomorrow also. Probably if you are available early, maybe we can start.
Okay. From 7:30 is okay for me.
Okay. Okay. So I'll for 7:30.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks.